Okay,
Okay.
fantastic.
All right. Shall I take it away?
Go for it, Sabrina. We're all looking
Okay.
forward to this.
Thanks for so many people for turning up. I actually didn't think there would be so many people here today. So it's lovely to see you all. Thanks so much for coming. Okay, so obviously LinkedIn marketing is a much broader thing than just content development, but we don't really have very long today. So I wanted to give and simplify as much as possible, really, just sort of how to start putting content onto LinkedIn if you don't do it already, or maybe you're feeling a bit overwhelmed with all the different ideas that you've got and this kind of stuff. So what I do is I kind of distill content development down into 5 key types of content that I believe you need to put on LinkedIn. It's taken me a while to come up with like, what are those 5 things, like 5 broad buckets of content that you need to have on LinkedIn. But I think I've kind of come up with a way to kind of make sure you've got a nice spectrum of things on the platform. So we're just going to talk about how we can create different types of compelling content on LinkedIn that effectively has the purpose of getting our ideal clients to know, like, and trust us enough to buy from us, to become leads, and then for customers and then advocates of our work. So why is content so important? So it's just one of what I think are the 4 pillars of LinkedIn. So your 4 pillars for me are your profile, you're making connections with people on LinkedIn, so building relationships and actually connecting with people who are already in your network and who you would like to bring into your network. Doing a content strategy, so actually making sure you've got all your ideas and a framework and a plan for putting content onto LinkedIn, and then the actual task of content development. So we are talking about that 4th pillar today. Okay, so it's so important because it moves those kind of mindless scrollers from unconscious into conscious. They see you, it draws you get their attention, basically. Another important thing is that it drives traffic to your profile. So your profile you should see as almost like a mini website for you and your business. It kind of works in a very similar way. Is that the brilliant thing about LinkedIn is you can almost kind of curate and design who is in your network so that those are the people that then go to your profile. So you really want the ideal thing is for people to be jumping onto your profile from your content, finding out more about what you're all about. It builds awareness of who you are and what you offer. And again, it takes your clients on this journey through awareness, consideration, decision, and then nurture. And these are some of the things that you want your content to do. So your content needs to have a purpose. You don't really want to be putting content out there that doesn't have some kind of purpose. And it can be all the way through from just simply inspiring and creating a conversation, so getting engagement with people, through to building a relationship, taking people onto that next stage of the journey with you in that sort of client journey. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. And then making people want to buy from you above anyone else. So particularly if, like us, we're vegans, we're talking to like the vegan market or the eco market or social enterprise market, we want those people to think, oh, I've heard of that vegan person doing SEO, or I've heard of that person doing financial advice. I'm going to go and look for them because I've seen their content, right? So it keeps you top of mind when people need your service. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about this client journey. And what we're essentially doing with our LinkedIn content is the part at the bottom. So we're taking people on a journey from awareness through consideration and then into decision. And the next point is actually kind of nurturing them. So that you nurture them so they become kind of advocates and repeat buyers and that kind of thing. So the bulk of your content really wants to be at that awareness stage. So you're really inspiring, engaging, getting people to understand the problems that they have, but also the desires that they have and where they want to be. What do they want their life to look like? What do they want their business to look like? What do they want their health and well-being to look like? And do they even know they've got certain problems? Are they aware that they're actually suffering from a lot of stress at work and that actually a meditation program could be what helps them? So it's about kind of getting them to understand that. And at this stage, you're not really talking too much about you and what you do. You're kind of just bringing them in. It's fun, it's inspirational. You can start talking a little bit about who you are and bringing in your authentic self, but it's only when you get to the second part of the funnel where you start talking about that consideration, is where you start bringing in what it is you do, how it is you help. You start giving those bits of advice. You start showing up more on video, showing your energy, your personality. So people go, oh, I like this person. Okay, this is the person for me. You might also be at this stage repelling people, but that's totally fine. You can't not everyone can like you. And it's okay if there are people that you're kind of repelling and people are like, oh, I'm not sure, I'm kind of on her wavelength. So that's the kind of consideration stage. You start talking about how you can actually help to alleviate those problems. So that's the kind of, so let's say you've got 40% of your content sort of happening at the sort of awareness engagement side, and then you've got around sort of 20-30% in the consideration, and then it's sort of the last 20% is around decision. So that's those kind of promotional posts. You're not being very salesy, but you're really talking about, you know, this is what I've got, this is how it helps, this is how you can buy it. So a lot of people I've noticed on LinkedIn do lots and lots and lots at the top of the funnel, which is really important, but they don't actually have that pith about what it is that they actually are offering and what it is they're trying to sell. You can't have too much of that because that also repels people. So you need to make sure you've got a lot in the beginning of the funnel, and then but you still have some of those key offer posts. So I'm going to talk you through how we look at that now. So this is where I've distilled the 5 types of posts that you must have on LinkedIn. So obviously you'll probably have lots and lots and lots of ideas, and there's a different system that I use before you get to this stage in order to develop your plan. So how you get those ideas out of your head onto paper and start to actually formulate them into what you want to say, so your key messages. But these are the types of posts that you need. So engagement posts are the ones that are at the top of the pyramid. So they're those ones where you ask a question, you have a bit of fun, you kind of engage them in a conversation. You always need to have a call to action that gets them into a conversation at this stage. Then those more personal posts. So while you're not talking about yourself a lot on LinkedIn, you're not kind of going, oh, I've done all these amazing things and look at me. You need to have those posts that actually get people to know, like, and trust you. And I've kind of distilled them into like different pockets there, and I'll show you in a minute. So you're always having your posts that are kind of client facing, but they're kind of showing that you empathize and you care and you can help them solve a problem. Then you have your advice posts, which are very much more about the value that you offer. So what tips can you offer? What advice can you offer? And then spotlight posts, you're taking people behind the scenes in your business. You're showing people how you do something. You might be showing testimonials and case studies, and then offer posts. So we're going to talk a bit more about all of those now. Then I wanted to go through the types of LinkedIn content that we have. So there's a few different types of LinkedIn content that you can utilize. Video is really optimal. It's fantastic. There's also LinkedIn Live that you can apply for now. If going live is your thing and you want to go live on LinkedIn, you can do so. You have to apply for it, but it seems to be quicker to get it now. But just doing native video, so just literally recording your video on your phone, adding some subtitles, really helps. Popping that up is great. Long form posts, so literally on LinkedIn now, you can now almost write a blog post in an article, in a post. You've got 3,000 characters, which is actually quite a lot. So you can create quite a weighty post, and you can add optional graphics or photos to that. Then you've also got just short text posts that you can pop up as well. Document posts are those carousel posts where you can just swipe to, you're swiping to the right and you're going through kind of a slideshow. If we have enough time, I don't think we will, but I'm happy to stay on if people want to see how you create those posts and how you can add them onto LinkedIn. Because there is a very, very simple technique. Once you know it, it's very simple, but some people might not know it. Polls are still having their heyday. They're still extremely engaging. Lots and lots of people are viewing them and taking part in them. And I think they're very, very effective ways of doing a bit of market research, understanding your audience better, asking them questions, even having a bit of fun. And so that's quite useful. And then articles are still around. They are evergreen, so they don't go anywhere, unlike posts, which will be seen for 24 hours and then they'll just sort of pop off. However, they don't get a lot of views. So don't be expecting an awful lot of engagement on your articles, but they are quite good to have them on your LinkedIn profile as almost like a blog on your LinkedIn profile. As I said, your profile can act like a mini website. So it's great to have your blog there. When people jump on, they can see a lot of the information and things that you've done. So you really want to make sure you're using a mixture of these types of content throughout the week. So merging your different types of posts with the different formats of posts is really great. So the anatomy of a good post. So all posts need to have some of these key elements. So what's really important on LinkedIn is that you have an engaging headline or a hook. So asking a question or having a thought-provoking statement or something that makes people want to read more, because the first 2 lines of your LinkedIn post If it's long, or if it has a graphic, actually, it'll say see more, and you have to click see more in order to do that. So you want to be getting people to click see more. Having 1 point per paragraph and breaking up the text as much as you can. So really good LinkedIn posts that tend to get people to stop and read have just very short sentences, and it's almost like 1 point per, it's almost just 1 sentence per paragraph, and the paragraphs are very short. So they tend to just be very guides the eye down. And as I've said, it's up to 3,000 characters. So I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but LinkedIn has this thing called dwell time, which is part of the algorithm now. And it's actually the amount of time that people spend on your post is what gives it kind of credibility. So if people are spending a while on your post, actually reading your post, you're giving them quite a lot of good content to read. So it's giving them advice, it's giving them support, or it's really resonating. It's really making them think, oh, this person's got me, and they're sticking with your post. That's going to give it more credibility, and that's going to get the LinkedIn algorithm, I don't know whether it's the algorithm or the LinkedIn people or whatever, to push it out further. So more of your network is going to see it, and more of your second and third degree connections will end up seeing it as well. So thinking about having that dwell time, so some posts that cause people to dwell, and things like video does that. If you've got an enticing post to get people to watch the video is short, it has subtitles, people will end up watching it, that's counted as dwell time. People are actually dwelling on your post. So it's seen as quality content. Okay, you also need to make sure you're speaking to an individual in all of your posts. So using your and you rather than sort of they and their. So don't sort of impersonalize it, but kind of actually talk to a person when you're writing your post. And this has kind of been said a million times, but before you write any of your content, you really need such a strong idea of who your ideal client is, how they think, what keeps them up at night, what their problems are, what desires they have. Understanding the kind of language that they use is really important. So you in your industry may have very specific jargon that you use. You may have very specific language, but if your client doesn't really speak in that way, they don't understand the 3-letter acronyms and that kind of stuff, you really don't want to be using that in your content. You want to make sure you're speaking their language. Another thing is hashtags as well. So what you want to be doing is using hashtags that your ideal client is likely to use. So let's say, for example, I want sort of vegan businesses to look at my content. I would rather use the hashtag vegan business or vegan business leaders than use the hashtag LinkedIn marketing, because my clients might not know that they need LinkedIn marketing, but they might be very interested in reading about other vegan businesses and what vegan businesses are doing. So quite a lot of your clients might not yet know they've got a problem and you've got the solution, and your content needs to kind of bring that out, that you understand that they've got this problem. You want gently trying to make them understand that they also have this problem that they need to solve. So tagging people is also interesting. So you can tag people who you think might find the content useful. You can also tag people actually embedding their names in the post if it's something that you want to sort of give them a shout out or something like that. But be careful not to tag too much. So if you tag similar people in every post and it has no relevance to them, that can come across a little spammy and a little lazy. So be careful not to do that unless you kind of have their permission, or just do it once in a while, just when you've got something interesting to share. So be a bit careful with that. And always have some form of call to action in your post. So asking a question at the end of your post to start a conversation, make sure that the question is quite simple to answer. So you'll know this when you go through LinkedIn and someone's asked you a question and it can be a bit like, oh, I can't really think how to answer that. But if it's kind of like a very quick thing about something that you don't need to think about, you can answer quite quickly and then you can get a conversation going. So that can be really, really handy to have that at the end of your post, so that you can start having a conversation. People respond, you respond to them in the comments. External links, the jury's always out about what you do about external links. It's still best really to put them in the comments or to edit the post after you've posted it and pop it back in the post. It seems to work much better than putting the external link directly in the post when you first write it. So I'm going to start with engagement posts then. So these are kind of more of a broad range of things, and you might find that you come up with like lots of ideas for engagement posts. So for example, I was just thinking today, if your ideal client is a woman who's very interested in like female leadership empowerment, that kind of thing, Emma Raducanu's win could be something that you want to make a post about, and you want to ask a question about that, and it's just a very simple post, and it gets that engagement, it gets people like excited and that kind of thing. So always having space, even though you're going to have a content strategy and a content plan, having that space for when things come up and you want to be responsive can be really good. So it sparks interest and it inspires people. So that's really good at that top of the funnel. Asking questions, starting a discussion around a particular problem they might have, or a desire that they might have, okay, that they might aspire to be more calm, or they may aspire to have their finances in order. They may not really realize it, but they don't know much about what's going on with their pension. They haven't looked at their pension for say 4 years or something, and you just casually bring in those kinds of problems, and you just kind of niggle in the background, make them think, oh, hang on a minute, maybe he's got a point, I need to think about that, or that kind of thing. Okay, so think about what's going to resonate with your ideal client. So again, having that very clear idea about your ideal client is really important. That kind of like what are those things that are going to resonate with them, and give your opinion on topical news, ask questions, that kind of thing. You can also make it polarizing. So if you've got something where there's probably want to steer clear, sorry, I'm going to caveat this, from like very heavy political things, unless you want to get into a very, very strong debate and kind of lose your whole day doing it. But things are a little bit polarizing. I'll give you an example. So people using like the open to work banner on LinkedIn, I don't think you should use that. I've got my reasons for it. Some people think you should. And so it's a bit polarizing, gets people into a bit of a conversation, and we can talk about that, but no one's going to be madly hurt about it. So it's kind of okay. Polls are also great for engagement. So if you just want to ask a question, not only is it engaging, but you also get a lot of information back from your clients on what they need, what their problems are, what their solutions could be. So polls are really handy, and I'm really going to challenge you at the end of this thing to create a poll, because I think if you haven't done a poll, you're going to enjoy doing a poll. So I'm just going to give you a couple of examples as we go through of sort of engagement posts or whatever, but just kind of having something that's kind of, it can be a personal thing, even kind of like somewhere you went on a trip, you're talking a little bit about yourself, that can be an engaging post as well. This was one that one of my clients did, who actually was often in this group and we haven't seen her for ages. And she's talking about a morning routine. And this is kind of like, it introduces her a little bit. So it's kind of a personal post, but it's also quite engaging. And, people can respond about, do they have a morning routine? No, they don't. Yes, they do. There we go. Easy. It's easy to get people into conversations. So I'm going to go on to know, like, and trust posts. So these are quite important to kind of round out the kind of person that you are and how you can help. And I think that these are all very important things to have on LinkedIn. So making sure that your posts really do reflect the real you. So who you are, your energy, your personality really does come across. And I think these are the people that do really well on LinkedIn. It's when you see their face a lot, you hear their voice a lot from video. They're just out there kind of talking and just being really real, and in letting us in a little bit to like what happens in their life. And so I haven't written everything you could put in these kind of posts, but you can be a bit vulnerable, a little bit of like your weaknesses, like, oh, this thing happened and it failed, it was a flop or whatever. It's so it just resonates so much with people when you can actually just be real, just be a real human being and put that out on LinkedIn. And I think a lot of people are a bit worried about putting that on LinkedIn because it's a professional network, but it's becoming so much more of a space where people can just be really open and honest. And I think that's why I'm starting to really, really like LinkedIn, is because you can really just be yourself. What makes you you is really important. And then you can also talk about like what makes you unique and your like values and drivers. So the fact that you're vegan can come up quite a bit, that kind of thing. And just what is your why around that, which is really good. The story of how you got to where you are, so introducing yourself. So I find that a really engaging post is an introduction post. So even if you've introduced yourself before on LinkedIn, your network will be very fluid. It's growing. It's, you know, you may have people you're unfollowing on that kind of thing. So it's very absolutely fine if you want to do another kind of introductory post, kind of talking about who you are, why you do what you do, and that kind of thing. So that's another challenge that you can do, an introduction post. It's right. It's easy, and it's actually quite fun to just kind of say, this is me, this is why I'm here, this is where I came from, kind of thing. Adding your opinions about certain things and stories. So things that have happened to you, creating them into a story is a really good way to draw people in, but also start to talk about what it is that you do. And the trust element comes through a lot of the other posts as well. But can you know, your posts need to sort of like come across, you can give people the help that they need, and you know the help that they need, and you can give it to them. You're able to do that. And do you empathize? You know, do you get them, and do you care? So again, that kind of comes across in your kind of your personality, that you kind of actually care about people and you want to help them. So your whole content, I should mention, is kind of about how you help people rather than selling at all. It's all about kind of like, can I serve? Can I help? And that kind of thing. This was an example of one of Heather's posts where she talks about, you know, this is a story about something that happened to her, really quite hectic and quite intense, but you really get her energy from it. You really, it's very exciting. It draws people in. I would have changed the headline to say, this one in 2019, I was in an ambulance thinking, am I about to die? That could have been a headline and people would definitely have clicked more, and that kind of thing. So there's that kind of thing, like where can you pull out the headline and story and make people excited to read more. Then advice posts, pretty self-explanatory, but everything you do will have elements of things you can do to help people to do the work, kind of to do bits of the things that you can do. But it's not everything that you can do. So it's just kind of like helping them. It positions you as an authority. It shows that you know your stuff in your industry. So giving some tips on a weekly basis, definitely you need to be giving some kind of advice, either through, you can use a video, you can use a document post for this, works really, really well. So you can have, say, 5 slides, giving 5 tips on something, or even a long form post where you're really talking about all the advice that you can give. You can also share industry news that comes up. So if you're working in like as a nutritionist, for example, and something comes out that's very important about the benefits of soy or something like that, you can write all about that or whatever, and then give your take on it. So where you stand on that particular thing. So then it really does show you as an authority, and you show your credibility in that space. So those are important, I think, to have in your repertoire. This is just an example of an advice post talking about the kind of customer journey and trying to get people to come out of their shell a bit on LinkedIn. Then we've got the spotlight posts. So those are taking people behind the scenes so that they can kind of see more about the how of what you do. And I think this is really important. So not only is it kind of like lovely to have those kind of almost celebratory posts. So if you've sold out of a service or you're starting a new service, that's always really great when you're sort of saying, I'm going to do something like this. People love the opportunity to have a cheerlead on LinkedIn. I've noticed. I think it's quite the opposite. I don't spend any time on Twitter because I've heard it's quite mean, but I think it's the opposite of that, where people like love to kind of celebrate you. If you're doing something, you're doing something new, something's going really well, you can put that on. But similarly, you can also talk about it if something's not going quite so well. You've tried something, you've taken a risk, you've learned something, and you want to talk about that. So that kind of thing is quite nice if you just take people behind the scenes a little bit. So how your service works, how you do things, your methods, your processes for doing things. Then you can also talk about here your case studies. So how you've taken somebody from a place of, from a place of problems and pain to a place of desire and where they want to be. So you can say, client A came to me, she had this problem and that problem. We worked together through this and this, and we wound up with this result or whatever. So people can see if they work with you, what is the process that they will go on? So what is it that they will kind of get, kind of thing? And how has it benefited other people? So they can really see that. Those kind of posts are really, really effective. And then also there are other kind of behind the scenes posts as well. So you can have behind the scenes with your staff, even like your pets at work or where you work, you know, your office space and that kind of thing. So just showing people a little bit more about like of who you are as a person. It's a big cliche, but people buy from people. So getting to know you and getting to know how you work and the way you work is really important. I'm just going to mention as well in here, I mentioned client testimonials. Those are also really great. So you can use excerpts of testimonials in your posts, or you could use graphics of testimonials. There's several ways you can do testimonials, to be honest. You can have a video testimonial from your clients, and you could even perhaps do an interview testimonial where you talk through how you helped, where they were when they started working with you, where they are now, and how you helped. And that's a great little video to put up if you can get someone to do that with you. It really works well. This is just a couple of behind the scene posts. So this is when I first did my course and it sold out, and I was well chuffed about that. And then this is about how niche my niche is. And people are always writing to me about how niche my niche is. Okay, so offer posts. So when we talk about offer posts, we are talking about the value proposition essentially. So, and these offer posts tend to be, you can actually have offer posts like every week, but you can not necessarily be offering your service in every one, but you could be offering things like a lead magnet or something like that. So it's actually about the transformation you bring your clients. You want to be talking about that in your offer post. So what's the main transformation that your client needs? What does your product or service accomplish for them? Why haven't they made the change already? So it could be that, you know, you're talking about the things that are holding your clients back from making the change. They haven't got enough time. They're worried they're going to fail. You know, there's all of these kind of things that you can talk about. So it's almost like those objections you can start to sort of handle for them. And what's the real value of the service? So you can then talk about things like return on investment. So, you know, the real value of the service might not only be that you're going to get more leads, but you're also going to get more confidence to go out there and promote yourself. And have that clarity around what you sell, what you do, etc. And what's the cost? I mean, this is something you can also bring into your offer posts. What's the cost of not getting the results they're looking for? So staying stuck, not getting these, you know, these new clients, etc., or still staying stressed, or still staying unaware of their, you know, finances, or all of those things. You know, you will know where people are and what's going to be the problem if they stay stuck for another year or something like that. Okay, so for your offer post, I've just kind of mentioned that you really need to be very clear on your message, and you can start to create your offer posts from kind of developing your message out. So who do you help? So who's your ideal client? What are the tangible results that you achieve? What is the methodology that you use? So your product or service, what brings about that transformation or desired outcomes, or what are the transformation or the desired outcomes? And takes away the pain points as well. So it stops them from feeling stressed, stops them from all these things. And how do you get it? So a call to action. So, you know, you have the link in the comments where they can go, then you want them to go to their profile, that kind of thing. So being tangible, specific, concise, and clear in every post is really, really important there as well. So these are a few kind of offer posts. One thing I want to say about offer posts is they get very little engagement. So as soon as someone realizes that you're actually talking about your service, you find that you won't get an awful lot of comments, but what you'll end up getting is people DMing you, because they're kind of like, yeah, I really resonated with that, but they don't really want to kind of like write, they don't know what to write below, because it's not really asking them a question. It's asking them to take another form of action, which is to kind of sign up for something or to get on a call with you, and that kind of thing. So you might find that they don't, and that you shouldn't feel disheartened by that. People are still watching, they're still reading, even if you're not getting heaps of likes and comments and that kind of thing. They are the ones that will eventually give you leads, because people know what it is that you're selling. So these can be your call to actions on your offer posts as well. So it might be you know, you want to be putting out your lead magnet or your freebie, you know, that should be something that should be going into your LinkedIn content as well. So if you've got something that's something that's of high value, that's free, that you want to put out, and there's a landing page, put that into a post. You want them to book onto a free masterclass or something, or you want them to sign up to your group program, or if it's a more high ticket offer, it might be that you want them to jump on a sales call with you. So all of those things need to be in your offer post, but choose just one. Don't confuse your reader or your potential client with lots of calls to action. So it's just, you know, do you want them to jump on a call, or do you want them to go to a link? Be quite clear about what it is you want them to do in that post. Okay, so then a few algorithm tips. These do change quite regularly, and I do update these, but just, you know, at the time of creating this was what was going on. You want to be posting in the sort of first 2 hours of the working day on weekdays, really. And there is quite a lot of engagement going on at the weekend as well. But really what you want to do is just be sort of testing this out. But generally speaking, the beginning of the working day, wherever your ideal client is in the world, remember that, you know, if you're completely remote and you actually want to get American clients, you might want to be thinking about when they're waking up as well. But generally speaking, 8 to 10 on a weekday is, you know, the sweet spot. Get engagement soon after posting, which is why we have our group, and I haven't seen any changes to this. Your post will definitely go further if you get early engagement on that post. Tagging people is good for getting engagement as well. Again, don't abuse it, but it's good. It's a good thing to do if you can. So for instance, if you've worked with people before and you know that they've really liked your service, and you've got an offer post that talks about your service, go ahead and tag a few people who've done it before. They're usually really generous, and they're right below, you know, it was great, or whatever, blah, 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 that kind of thing. You can do that kind of thing sometimes. Use between 3 and 9 hashtags, again, that your ideal client uses. And always react and reply to comments on your post as well. So, and what I think is really good as well is to make sure you, if you can, reply with a question. So if somebody comments on your post or whatever, you can just say, you might say something like, that's interesting, and ask them a question about it. So what stops you from doing that? What's holding you back in that area, or something like that? So you can start getting a conversation, and then you can actually take that to the DMs. If you start having a nice conversation with someone, you can start building that into a relationship by taking that into the DMs and having a chat with that person. And as I said, the amount of time that people spend on your post does matter. So having that dwell time does matter as well for the algorithm. Okay, this is my final slide. I'm sorry if I've talked too quickly. I want to have some time for questions if we can. This seems like a lot, but maybe just pick 1 or 2 things, depending on how much you do post. I know a lot of people on this group are really brilliant, prolific posters, but I just wanted to sort of give you a challenge to kind of create a poll this week. So very simple engagement poll. It can be fun, or it can be something that's actually related to your business and you want to find out more about it. And do an introductory post, a long form introductory post with a picture of yourself. So that's a challenge for you. And if you can, an advice post. This does seem like a lot, but I'm just going to put this out here, offering a tip, and you could do that in a video. And then a spotlight post could be a case study of someone you helped, and you could add a testimonial if you like. And then also creating an offer post, so a clear summary of how someone can work with you, the benefits they'll get, and the problems that will be taken away, whatever. So yeah, so that's what I would do. Okay, that's the end of the presentation, I do believe.
Brilliant.
Yes. We'll stop
Thank
sharing.
you, Sabrina. Right, okay, we'll come back here. Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. So much content in there. That was I could see lots of people furiously writing notes. So I think
I'm very happy to share the slides
on the replay. I will let us do some questions, but I'm conscious that it's 12 o'clock now. So in case anyone needs to shoot off, just to say, obviously we are here every week. The link is the same, so you can join us next week if you wish to, and we'll have some group networking next week. if you are new to the group and you want to join the WhatsApp group, if you message Jane, so Jane, you're still here, yes, good. Message Jane with your mobile number, we'll get you onto that. And obviously, if anyone does need to go now, lovely to see you all, and I'll let you shoot off. And then I guess, Sabrina, have you got some time to answer some questions? Because I have a feeling there might be a few.
I do indeed.
Okay, I'm good for us to continue until 15:15. Obviously, if people need to drop off, do, but otherwise, let's go until then. I will attempt to organise questions. So go for it. Wave your real or digital hands, and we'll see where we get to. Go for it, Jane. Oh, and then Nina after that, and then I saw Teresa.
Really great information. I've spent a lot of time on LinkedIn over the last few weeks learning to do stuff, and you've just like blown me away. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Do you think LinkedIn, with the sort of business Sam and I are in, do you think LinkedIn is a better way to go to promote our business rather than Facebook?
So, Jane, truthfully, I don't know much about Facebook really, and I know people do get on really well with it. So I don't know if I could really answer that really well, but I just feel like LinkedIn is great for you because you are working B2B, and that is where people are going to be looking for people like you to help them.
Excellent.
So
okay.
I think you can do both, but I do think you guys, would benefit really well from a LinkedIn strategy. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Yep.
You're welcome.
Brilliant.
So mine is a social media question about repurposing, really, because I'm all about time for myself and my clients. Reels, I'm repurposing TikTok. So you're mentioning video. Every time I've gone to upload video on a scheduler, it's never gone. I always have to do LinkedIn, which really bugs me. I always have to do it like between 8 and 10 o'clock, which is, it's a small thing that takes up my time. Repurposing reels onto, does it have to be serious or something on LinkedIn? I mean, I've put a few, but
do you know what, Nina? I actually think you should put those reels up on LinkedIn. Because if they're engaging and they're giving advice, they're giving tips or whatever, and they're quite fun for people to watch, I think they could actually work. But the only thing is you can't schedule video on any scheduler at all. So it's the thing with the API with LinkedIn. It's just not allowing you to do that. So you have to do it organically. I think Nina's got stuck.
I think we might have lost Nina, but I agree with what you just said there about Sabrina. I've seen a number of people repurposing TikTok video clips onto LinkedIn in the last week or two. And you kind of think if there were two platforms that were the polar opposite, it's probably TikTok and LinkedIn at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So if it's good enough for that, then I'd agree.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why not. I think there are certain things that if it gets really silly, then people might but if it's not silly and it's actually quite useful stuff, but it's in a reel, I think that's quite cool.
Can I just jump in with one small concern with the reels?
Yeah, please.
Sometimes there's music in them, and I'm not sure if you're allowed to use it on LinkedIn. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying that might be a question mark.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
I don't know what the answer is.
So because it's already, because they come from an Instagram platform, because you're basically kind of copying them, aren't you, and just putting yourself over it or something with these reels. I don't know.
I know
I have to have my strategy session with Jessica.
Problems with copyright of music, and I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
I'm just, as you two are talking, I can just see a sort of social media round table event forming in my mind with LinkedIn specialist, Instagram specialist. I'm sure we can find
and Nina as well with Pinterest.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it would be a great idea. We need a Facebook one as well. I think I've yet to meet a vegan Facebook whiz, but I'm sure people are they're just generally really good at it because it's been around so long. But
okay, could be an interesting panel discussion. Jane, we'll have a chat about that. Right. Okay. Teresa, I think you had a question as well.
Thank you. I'd just like to say what a lovely group you are. I've not been before and I was very late, so I apologise for that. But I'm so glad I've made the last bit. And Sabrina's fantastic stuff you're giving us. Thank you so much. I would just like to question though. I was always advised to put no more than 3 hashtags, but you say between 3 and 12. Is there a reason for that?
It changes all the time, Teresa. It's very odd. I follow this guy who does all this extensive, rigorous research on the LinkedIn algorithm. So I literally just pass on what he does, because I'm not going to do my own rigorous research on the LinkedIn algorithm. And he at the moment is saying between 3 and 9. But I think probably, I do actually think less is more. So I would say sort of put it down to sort of 3 to 5.
Yeah, I tend to go with 3.
Yeah, and it's good to just research the hashtags and kind of see what's coming up in those hashtags and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Brilliant, excellent, and yes, welcome to the group, Teresa. You obviously you missed the opportunity to present yourself and stuff, but hopefully you'll join us for a future week and we'll get a chance to hear about what you're doing.
I've registered for the next one, so I don't miss it.
Fantastic. Excellent.
Thank you.
Good. Anyone else got any questions for Sabrina?
Yes. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Yes, I have a question for you, Sabrina, and it's about the links we put in the post. Is it okay if we put them in the post or in a comment? For example, if we want to talk about our blog post or about, I don't know, a product we have on our website, or yeah. How does LinkedIn react to that, like to the website link? Is it like okay or not, or I don't know?
So it doesn't like it actually if you put in an external link in the initial writing of the post. So if you put it's not that it doesn't like it, it won't go as far as if you were to write the post, edit the post, and then add the link back in. But I always put the link in the comments because that seems to be the best way to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a sneaky tip, to write it and then add it back in. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, that seems
I like that.
better.
Oh, could I just ask, Sabrina? I've noticed that when I do a video, it won't just upload to LinkedIn. It takes forever and then it says it won't upload. The only way I found a way of doing that is to upload to YouTube and then use the link from YouTube. Is that the only way to do it on LinkedIn?
No, to be honest with you, Teresa, it doesn't love YouTube as much as, so it prefers native video to you uploading a link, because YouTube is obviously an external website, so it's got the same problem with you going off to an external website if you put a YouTube video up. So it is, unless you really want your YouTube video, for people to see your YouTube video, you are better off uploading a video from your phone. I wonder why it's taking a long time. Are they very long videos? I wouldn't advise doing any more than a 3-minute video on LinkedIn.
Yeah, maybe they're a bit long, but I mean, I've tried sort of under a minute and just over a minute, and they just don't seem to go anywhere.
Could that be Mark, could that be Teresa's upload speed on her computer?
It could be, yeah. And I was just thinking, as you were saying it, Teresa, I was thinking actually your connection to this Zoom call is quite spotty, shall we say, and I'm wondering whether you're losing your connection partway through the upload and it's just corrupting it or something.
Could be. That's one of the wonderful wonders of living in the sticks, when we don't get good signals.
Unfortunately, I think it's your upload speed. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds like it. It sounds like it. I think some platforms are a bit more fault tolerant than others, and YouTube has obviously had a lot of years to perfect the upload process and really make it work well on very poor connections. So I would guess a lot of that technology is proprietary and everyone else is trying to copy it.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for Sabrina? Or should we let Jay, see your hand up? Go for it.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Sabrina. It's really, really interesting. I've got loads and loads of notes, My question was just about sharing. So if another company has a blog, or if you see another page on LinkedIn, sometimes what I do is share and then I add my own comments. So just wondering how the algorithms view that. Obviously, it'd be good to have a balance of both your own content and sharing, but I just find a lot of the time it's a lot. They write things a lot better than I could directly. So is there any no-nos with that, or?
Yeah, at the moment, right? So yes, at the moment, if you just share a post, so you see a post in the home feed and you share it and you add a couple of notes, whatever, you get very few views on it. It's very, very low. So I think that's what happens if you share it from the home feed. But if you actually go into their profile, find their post and reshare it. So just, be careful with just clicking share and it just goes on. Not a lot of people will see it. But definitely if you're gonna put somebody else's post up, and you need to bring in your own opinions on it. So like you said, but the worst thing you can do is just share without any info as to why you've shared it or whatever. That's it just, nobody will see it.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
I noticed last week, actually, when I commented on a couple of posts, that it actually prompted me and said something like, lead the conversation, share this post, with a button that seemed to want to convert my comment to a share. So I don't know if they're testing a new feature or...
Yes, I think that's true, actually. I noticed that as well. Another tip for if people share your posts, by the way. So let's say you write an offer and your lovely clients, whatever, share it, which is great. Because those shares don't really get seen a lot, it helps if the original poster goes in and likes and comments on the post. So make sure that if you notice someone has shared your content, that you go in and you say, thanks for the share. If anyone's got any questions, put something in their post.
So when my mum shares all my posts, that's what I should do.
Yes, you need to go in there and say, thanks, mum. I'll be round to make
it's not just my mum.
I wish my mum was that internet savvy. Be very helpful.
Oh, you could get my parents to do your social media management. They're very, very modern.
That would be really helpful.
Excellent. Right. Any other questions for Sabrina, or any other options to pimp out your parents? So, Shabari, go for it.
My parents aren't tech savvy at all. So I was just going to say thank you so much. That was a lot of useful content, Sabrina. You mentioned earlier about the lives that you have to apply. You can't just automatically do it. You have to apply. How do you go about the application process? And you mentioned that it's a lot quicker than it was before.
Yeah, it's super simple. So actually, I would just Google apply for LinkedIn Live. And when you do that, you're automatically, when you click on the link, you'll automatically be there with your profile on the application link, if you see what I mean. That's kind of how it works. You're just there on the application link. So then you apply for it and they'll send you an email saying, okay, you've got it. If they want to give it to you, I don't know what their criteria is for it, but I got it quite quickly. Some people are taking forever. I think that was a long time ago. And you have to use a third-party streaming service like StreamYard. So yeah, so if you want to go live on LinkedIn.
Okay, great, thank you. But you mentioned you don't know what the criteria is. Is there any way of finding out, or you just go for it and just hope for the best?
It could be that I don't know whether they spend a lot of time looking into whether you've done a lot of content or whatever. They may look at your SSI score or something, which is that the SSI score is like a kind of thing you can get on LinkedIn. It's like a kind of index of how kind of active you are on LinkedIn, I guess. It's possible they look at that, and if that's at 0, they don't give you the chance to go live or something, but I doubt very much it is. If you've got like a profile that's kind of up and you've written a bit of content, you should be okay. I'd just give it a go and see what happens for it. And if they say no, then you can probably ask why.
I mean, let's be real. The first thing they're going to do is check whether or not you're a paid subscriber, in which case you'll probably get access anyway. And then if not,
I would think
I would guess it's going to be like some of the checks the other social media networks do. If your account was created 5 minutes ago and, has no content, you're probably not going to get permission. But if it looks legit, you'll probably be fine.
That is absolutely it. Yeah, give it a go.
Brilliant. Okay, I for one, I'm afraid we'll need to run away now. And since I'm hosting the meeting, that means you all have to run away as well. lovely to see you all. Sabrina, thank you so much. Really like content heavy talk today, really helpful. I will stop the recording actually. I've just realised, so you've got the questions on the recording as well.
If people want access to the